What's going on, guys? It's Greg from ECD, and today we have a review of the newest Maverik head. This is the Maverik Havok. It came out on July 4th, just like all their heads do every year. They're made in the USA, so they try and do that every year. This is going to be a D-mid / transition / LSM head, which I really like. So it came in this really cool box. First, I want to say I'm always really impressed by Maverik's ability to continue to name heads things that end in a K. I thought they would have run out of ideas by now, but the Havok is a really cool name. It does end in a K, just like the Tactic, Optic, Centric, Tank. They're all ending in K, so I don't know when they're going to run out, but they're still doing a good job with that, which I'm really impressed by. So this is the box that came in. Little like shoebox warning, contains defensive animal. So when you open it up, you got the Maverik Havok, their tagline, Strip, Scoop, Create, which kind of goes with the transition sort of feel. So let's get right into this thing. We've got one in their Hyperlight blue color, also comes in gray, black, and then white. So it's $90, just like all the Maverik heads, which is great. I like to see heads at that price point. It weighs 5.5 ounces. So this head is kind of a little bit like a Tank too, but shifted more toward the LSM. So what you've got is a more pinched face shape. I always love the Tank. Tank's a really great head. A lot of D guys use it. Biggest complaint was it was like a shovel. Face shape was very wide. So here they brought it in much tighter right up through this point, which is really great for stringing a channel, having more control as a transition defender who likes to bring the ball up the field and shoot. You're going to want that slightly tighter pinch, and it does get a little bit wider at the top for ground balls and knocking down passes. So this is kind of a trend we're seeing with D heads. When I look at sidelines, I see a lot of offensive heads on the defensive sticks just because they like that tighter pinch, and there's not a lot of heads out that offer it. Some heads like the String Mark II-T, the Rebel D are starting to have pinch faces, and now this is the newest D head with a slightly more pinched face. So really like that aspect. I never saw a reason that a D head should be so wide that it was difficult to string a nice pocket. Other than that, the styling is very familiar. One thing I found odd is on the spec sheet they sent us, they said it was a 3-strut design. As far as I can tell, this is very clearly a 1, 2, 3, 4-strut design. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe they're kind of counting this one as part of the throat. I'm not really sure. I just thought that was a little bit odd. But definitely, as far as I can see, a 4-strut design, so very defensive. That's adding a little bit of weight, but a lot of stiffness. Looks like the Tank, but the big changes are in that face shape, and then what they're calling the ground control scoop. So we sort of just talked about this concept with the STX Ultra Power, but you've got a normal offset, and as soon as it hits the bottom of that offset, the scoop is heading straight back up toward the face, canting it forward. And like I talked about in the Ultra Power, one thing this is really great for is ground balls. So when you're going to get one, it's already angled flat to the ground, so you don't need to get quite as low to get the ground balls. And they just sort of flow seamlessly into the head, which I really like. So it's got that ground control sort of V taper where it comes back up to the face. Like we talked about with the Ultra Power, this is going to add some whip, but for a defensive head, I kind of like that. When it's out on the end of a 6-foot pole, you almost need a little bit more whip to really get your shot speed up. So I really like that aspect, the return on this head. As far as other features, just some normal Maverik styling stuff, familiar jewel, familiar throat. They do have the 2 screw holes, which I like. And they've got the X rail, which does help add a little stiffness. This head is plenty stiff. It's not the stiffest out there. It's probably not as stiff as your other D heads, but again, it is a transition head, so they try and find that balance between stiffness and weight. And then for stringing, they didn't do the channel lock on this, which they had in the Kinetic, which was that like jut that would help you lock it in. This head does not have that. That doesn't bother me. It wasn't my favorite feature, but they do have plenty of really well-sized sidewall holes, so you can see we strung one up. Our Carolina Blue Hero 2 happens to match their Hyperlight color really well. So you can see that with that high bottom rail, with that tighter face, you're able to get a really nice looking higher pocket with a great channel, and I would consider this a great head for stringing the perfect D pocket. So overall, I think this is a fantastic head. They could have just made a Tank too, but I think they wanted to round out their whole offering by filling in that niche of the transition defender, but I can easily see short stick D middies and close D guys using this head as well. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Would love to hear about it. Make sure to like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and have a great day.